Zelensky. This is my interpreter, Roxia Fuccinelli. Things are bad, okay? They're bad. But we're New Jersey, all right? We're gonna be fine.
Sandy!
Hi, it's Chris Wilhelm, and welcome to my weekly video blog. We want to update you on the Category 1 storm, Sandy. Initially, just Cape May and Atlantic counties were declared to be in a disaster zone. So all the agencies were only requiring re-inspections for those homes specifically in those counties. Well, was updated earlier this week to declare every county in the state of New Jersey in a disaster zone, which simply means if the appraisal had already been done pre-Sandy, now it has to be, a re-inspection has to be done to show that there's been no damage to the property. As you can appreciate, some of the appraisers are inundated with all of these re-inspections, especially to those on the barrier islands where the islands were actually closed due to fears of looting. So please be patient, and we've had some extensions as far as settlement dates. And please note, if you're putting a deal together today, those same appraisers are inundated with re-inspections or behind as far as getting out to do new appraisals. So please keep that in mind when you're putting the deal together with your commitment date as far as your settlement date. Well, we'll keep you abreasted or updated of any other changes with regards to that, but please note that every county in the state of New Jersey has been declared to be in a disaster zone. Thank you. Hey, well, welcome back. Just in case you were asleep on Tuesday, that's right, it was presidential election day. And as we know, as of this point, President Barack Obama has been soundly reelected by the American public. So what does that mean to you and I in the financial services businesses, which does include realtors? That means the balance of the Dodd-Frank Act will kick in over the next 2 years, and certainly will have an immediate impact on our business, as well as impact on consumers being able to borrow money. There's over 72 provisions that will come into play in these next 2 years. I'm not going to cover all 72 right now, but there are 3 immediate ones that will be taking place in 2013 that you need to know about quickly. QM, qualified mortgage. That means Lincoln Mortgage has to come out with a state of or have a policy in place that the regulators can see that this is our lending policy. QRM, which is qualified residential mortgage, which means the servicer of that loan, that means whoever they make their payments to, has to set aside reserves as capital for a future default on that loan. Even though it never made default, there has to be reserves set aside for that loan. And the last one is Basel III, which basically, there's already been 1 and 2, which is for banks to put funds aside. If you remember Too Big to Fail, that was part of it. They're making these banks put these funds on the sidelines, so it'll cover what monies they have on the street from a lending perspective. So QRM and Basel III are actually 2 separate things, and that's where it creates a little bit more pressure. So there was a recent report that came out by the American Action Forum, and they basically went back and looked at the regulatory reform in housing finance and putting the cost back in the benefit cost. And basically some of the statistics they have is that these 3 items will have an immediate impact on housing starts. As an example, for 2013, they had a baseline projection of 1.5 million housing starts due to DF, which is Dodd-Frank, and B3, which is Basel III. They're projecting that'll be 1.1 million, so that's over 600,000 fewer housing starts. They're also projecting, because of these 3 changes, that currently 20% of people who are eligible for mortgages in 2012 will not be eligible in 2013. So just imagine 20% of the market gone already in 2013, and they're projecting due to these tight guidelines that close to 1 million jobs will be not created because of this, because obviously the building industry will be strictly impacted by these 3 items. The other piece I want to make sure that I get out there, with obviously the same administration being in place, and this would apply to Mitt Romney as well too, who we know was not elected at this point, is that the home mortgage interest deduction is on the chopping blocks. Look for that to be cut or tied to high income earners. And as you know, President Barack Obama feels that any couple that makes greater than $250,000 is considered to be wealthy in this United States that we live in. So look for that mortgage interest deduction to be cut for those who are filing their income tax return jointly and earning greater than $250,000. So I'll try and keep you abreast of any changes that impact our industry and how it may impact our potential borrowers / your buyers, our borrowers. And we'll just have to continue to work through this and make the best of it. As always, we appreciate you tuning in. And
tonight, more than 200 years after a former colony won the right to determine its own destiny, the task of perfecting our union moves forward.